Public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted with the Star Ledger and Express Times and submitted to the town clerk of the town of Belvidere on July 11, 2020. Due to COVID-19, masks will be required at this meeting when proper social distancing cannot be maintained. Board members will be able to participate in the meeting virtually via conference call, and the meeting will be live streamed for members of the public that do not wish to attend in person. Public not in attendance can email comments to be read during public participation to rtjalma@belvideresd.org. Public comment on agenda items need to be received by 7 p.m. and have public participation in the subject line. I'm going to need a motion and a second for pursuant to bylaw 99310 to suspend certain meeting procedures as described in the notice of meeting, specifically to authorize board members to participate in the meeting virtually via conference call if desired. Can I get a motion and a second for that?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay. We're going to do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was hard. Roll call, Shell?
Mr. Blum? Here. Mrs. Bacchino? Mrs. Costantino? Here. Dr. Zuppis?
Here.
Mrs. Duckworth? Here. Mr. Labar?
Here.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Mrs. Pell? Here. Mrs. Scott? Yes. Mr. Smith? Mrs. Steffen?
Here.
Mrs. Williams?
I'm just going to take 1 second before we go to public participation to introduce Doug Ty. He is the new Hope representative since John Lucas has retired.
Not retired, but
He's retiring.
retired.
Yeah, he's retiring. He's going. So welcome, Doug. We look forward to having you on the board. All right, it's time in our meeting for public participation. So does anybody in the public have anything they need to tell us?
Just make sure that we don't have the cover, so if you're going to speak into
Oh
the
yeah, if you're
microphone,
gonna come up,
please use
we
mask.
don't have a cover on the microphone, so make sure you wear your mask at the microphone. Nobody out there? Shell, do you have anything via email?
I don't think they can hear. Can they hear?
Can you guys hear me out there? Okay.
No one responded.
Well, maybe they have anything to say.
My name is Danielle Jennings. I guess before anything, before anyone can really comment, we need to know kind of what are some ideas or plans of what might be in the works.
We're going to do a presentation in a little while of the reopening of the district.
Then I got nothing.
Anybody else in the public? Okay, Shell, anything from online?
I have a couple emails. The first one is from Jeff Weidlich, parent. I'm requesting that the Belvidere Board of Education authorize the school board attorney to review the policies of EF tours and travel insurance offered by the same through Seven Corners, Inc. on behalf of the Belvidere High School students scheduled to travel to Spain on April 11, 2020, as members of the high school travel club. The trip was canceled due to ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and EF Tours is offering vouchers for the full amount paid that can be used for future travel until 2022, or may be sold to another student within the school district. Families can also request a refund that will be the amount paid for the trip minus $565. My daughter Autumn just graduated and does not plan to travel with EF Tours in the future, and we are uncertain there will be the opportunity to sell her voucher to another Belvidere student in the next 2 years if the status of the global health makes travel abroad or within the United States unfeasible. Parents attended a meeting with Mrs. Koch and Mr. Karuba in mid-March and decided that the group would not travel as scheduled, knowing at that time vouchers would be issued for the trip. By March 31st, the U.S. Department of State had issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory. School had moved to remote learning, and New Jersey was under a stay-at-home issued by Governor Murphy. These students would not have been able to travel as scheduled by no choice of their own or the Belvidere High School. I have spoke to EF Tours, and the response that is given for the $565 deduction of the refund is that the fees that they incur from the various entities that they contract with for their tours. I have also spoken to Seven Corners with regard to travel insurance and was told to submit a claim, although my feeling is that the claim will be denied. I believe that these students are entitled to a full refund based on factors outside of their control and of the TripAdvisor, and would like the school board attorney to advocate on the students' behalf if upon review there is a legal basis for full reimbursement of the trip cost. I have also attached several frequently asked questions from the EF website and the travel insurance guide from 7 Points. The next one is from John Owens, high school teacher. Mr. Karuba, when will members of the community and faculty be able to voice their thoughts on the reopening plan? And then the last one is not labeled public participation, but it is from Michelle Nassamini asking when will the public get to see the plans for reopening, which is on tonight's agenda. And that's all the emails I've received.
Anybody else from the public? Okay, I'm closing public, wait. Somebody was pointing to themselves, or you wanna?
Public participation?
Yes, we're still in it,
There's another one, though, right?
at the end.
No, there's not.
There is not.
Special meeting, only put the one on. for
Oh, okay,
tonight.
special meeting, there's only one, so this is your only, one and only opportunity.
I mean, we could do it again after if you want, just
I don't
to,
have a problem with that.
yeah, that's fine.
We'll continue it after the presentation.
Or continue it after the presentation too, want to do that?
I want to thank everybody here ahead of time for what I'm about to say to allow me to share my opinion with this body. My name is Victor Iafredo and I'm a resident of Belvidere. I want to start off by asking 2 questions tonight. Do you believe the government never lies? Question number 2, do you believe the media never lies? I've been a police officer for the last 15 years. I've been a firefighter, hazmat tech, paramedic, flight medic, combat medic. I have 10 years in the military. One of my MOSs is a chemical biological weapons sergeant. I have a degree, I own a small business, and the most important title that I have is Dad. I spent the last 20 years of my life serving my country and my community. And the reason I'm telling you is I'm hope that it will lend a little weight to my plea to this governing body. This will be hard to hear because of our cognitive dissonance, but they're lying about the veracity of COVID. They lied about the 2-week lockdown. We're even over 130 days right now. They lied to us about the malaria drug. In other countries right now, it's showing 1/3 the mortality rate. Orlando hospitals last week got caught for lying about COVID numbers. They told us that we can't go to funerals, but it's okay to protest. They lied to us that lockdowns save lives, but in New York City, we know that it actually increased the amount of deaths. And countries, there are several countries right now that have not locked down and they are not having a second wave. Economists Harrison and Bluestone wrote a book, and they said for every 1% of unemployment, it will be 10,000 plus deaths of Americans. From the lockdown, we've had over 11% increase of unemployment. That's roughly 120,000 people died. For what? That's not including suicide, drugs, and people not being able to get cancer treatment. I read an article last week that the UN said that this year, from lockdowns, an additional 50 million people will die of starvation. Doing my research, I couldn't find anything to justify social distancing. There is no scientific evidence, no study, scientific study to back that. Why is it 6 feet? Why isn't it 3 feet? In fact, some doctors I read said it was 26 feet in order for it to work. We know that the Surgeon General came out and lied about masks. We know that Fauci lied about masks. And then he lied again to cover his flip-flop. Now he says it's a symbol. I asked his body, what is this a symbol of? Some masks, right on the box. If you ever look at some of the box, they say right on them, will not stop viruses. Made in China, one use only. Now, for my training as a chemical weapons officer, that I know that using this mask is like using a chain-linked fence to stop mosquitoes. The truth is, these masks won't even stop flatulence. The CDC lists studies. I went on the CDC and I went all of their studies about the masks. They don't put the links on them. You got to look them up. You got to put it abroad. You got to look them all up. I didn't see one study that I had listed on the CDC that conclusively said that masks work. In fact, if you look up the OSHA, we all know in here that there's 21% of oxygen in the air. If it drops just 1.5%, that is a hazardous environment according to OSHA. Do we really want kids and staff wearing these all day long? I read another article that also wearing masks inhibit the natural body's immune system to exhale. It's part of our immune system. How do I also know that they're lying? Well, I'm a big history buff. One of the things that Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. I don't know if you guys know who Joseph Goebbels is. He says, the bigger the lie, the longer you say it, the more often they promote it, people will believe it. Benjamin Franklin said, if you're willing to give up any security for freedom, you deserve neither security nor freedom. The truth is, life is risk. Every year, 12 to 60,000 people die of the flu. And that's with a vaccine. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. That will happen. That's nature every year. Because death, unfortunately, is a part of life. Again, I went to the CDC website last week. 0 to the age of 24, the chance of dying is 1 in 250,000. Do any of you know the chances that you took when you left your house tonight to come here? Does anybody know? It's 1 in 500. And I don't think anybody was afraid to come here tonight to leave their house. Finally, one more thing, I'm sorry. I keep hearing on the news, cases. Now, like I said, I have 25 years of training, I have medical experience. I don't understand the problem with this, is that's how you get herd immunity. In 2009, research this too, 60 million people in this country was affected with SARS. There's no lockdown. Finally, I am tired of hearing this new normal. I question that. I want the old normal. I feel that what's in best interest of my children is for them to be in school, to be in there full time, and without masks. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for coming before us. Anybody else have anything? I think we will have another one after, in case people have questions about the presentation. I think that's only fair. All right. All right, if nobody else has anything, we are going to go into executive session. How long do you think we'll be?
No more than 20 minutes, I
Yeah,
don't
it won't be
think.
long. So I need a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss personnel. The matters discussed will be disclosed to the public when the reasons for confidentiality no longer exist. Motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay. All right, we'll be back in 20 minutes. All right, we are back. And I was asked a question coming in, and I said it before we left, but in case you didn't hear, we will have a second poll of participation. So if you have any questions on the district reopening plan, you can ask them then. So with that, Chris will take over for his district reopening plan.
Okay. Everybody here okay? Excellent. Well, thanks for everybody coming out. Nice turnout for our presentation tonight. Hopefully my presentation skills will live up to your expectation, but probably not. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk a little bit about, actually we're going to talk a lot about our reopening plan for the 2020 school year. And we had a discussion this evening in finance, and I think one of the things to really stress is the key word is flexibility. And we know that just over the last few months how important it's been to be flexible in so many different parts of our life and trying to navigate ourselves through all of this. And what we start out with is not going to be what we finish with. We're pretty confident of that. And I would suspect that if we do start in-person learning, keyword there was if, we do start in-person learning, our plan will be to do that. We'll just hope that the governor sticks with his plan. I would suspect that there will be times where we will not be in the building and we'll be learning virtually. So with that, a couple of things. Number one is, as we have discussed in various committees, we will be looking to push the start date for school back to September the 8th, which will give us an extra almost week to prepare. And since we will have the virtual option, the concept of a snow day will go by the wayside. So if there's a weather issue, we will just be turning over to virtual learning on those days. Now, in case of extreme weather issues, we do have still 2 days that we can play with, but hopefully we won't be in a situation where it snows so bad that power is out or things of that nature, but it's 2020, so we can probably guess that that will happen. Okay? So there'll be a couple of key dates that I'll kind of go through as we go in on this. But one of the things we were talking, we had a meeting this morning, the administrative team and some members of the executive committee from the B.E.A. And when we get our students back, and again, I do hope that we will be in person starting on September 8th, we do want to make sure we remember to focus on the kids on their social emotional needs. We also want to make sure that we do prepare them, that if we do go all virtual or we go virtual for an extended period of time, that we have things in place. While I thought we transitioned smoothly the last time back in March, we all know that we can sit here and spend an hour discussing what we could have done better. And hopefully we will be more prepared this time. I apologize, my back is to you guys. Hopefully we'll be more prepared this time to do that. So we want to make sure that we are prepared and the students and the staff understand what the expectations are when we are in a virtual environment. The presentation that you see tonight will be up online by Friday, and we'll also have a smaller information graph that kind of covers the major points of what it is. I think for most folks, the idea will be what does the schedule look like, how often are the kids going to be in, and what are we going to do with the students when we're there. So that's my little preamble. First of all, just to give you an idea of who was part of the plan itself, and I know Mr. Owens had asked a question in the first public participation about when the staff and parents will have an opportunity. I think we all had an opportunity, at least through the surveys, to put their concerns out there. That being said, anytime somebody wants to either send an email to myself or one of the building administrators or put a phone call in, please do so. As I said, we are going to be as flexible as we can and try to make changes as necessary. So as you can kind of see, we obviously took some guidance from the CDC, the Department of Education, and feedback from stakeholders. You can see the priority is obviously safety. I probably should say that more than once. Safety, safety, safety of our staff and students. Personalized learning and some social and emotional learning and making sure our kids are okay. So hybrid models at both the elementary and high have synchronous learning, so students all learning at the same time, and then asynchronous learning where students are completing classwork. Okay, so you can see some of our guidelines. I'm not going to read everything. I know most of us can do that. But you can see there will be some accommodations for both students and staff. We'll make sure that the staff with higher risk for severe illness are taken care of as well as our students. Parents do, and if you followed along what Governor Murphy said last week, parents have the option to choose an all-virtual setting for your child, regardless of the risk status. That does not mean you have to disenroll your student and become a homeschool student. You can choose an option where we will provide the education for you. So communication, that is one thing that obviously comes up in a lot of different conversations. So we will make sure that we are on top of our communication, not just with parents and staff, but also with our local and state authorities and kind of keep everybody up to date as what is being said. And at this point, we are going to ask for staff and students to wear masks, okay? We will also ensure proper cleaning of facilities, and we are working with the Precise Graphics group for signage around the buildings, and then that way we'll also make sure we keep kids coming in at different entrances and exits. One of the things to just mention real quick on this, for those of you that have been around for a few years, and if you haven't, even newer, this is going to be a little bit of a strain on our safety protocols, and a lot that we've put in place over the last few years. The entrance and the exiting, we've been trying to limit those, and we're probably going to have to expand those. There used to be where we encouraged windows and doors to be shut, more so doors. We're going to encourage those to be open now so we can get some fresh air flowing in and things of that nature. Okay, so here's what the real nuts and bolts will be. So you can see again, as I said, with the virtual and the hybrid. So right now we're calling it a hybrid because we are proposing half-day schedule, early dismissal schedule. So Oxford Street, you can see the 8:05 to 12:20 p.m. and for the high school, 7:40 to 12 p.m. Each student will have to bring their Chromebook to school when they report for their in-person learning. And then the classroom design, students will be seated 6 feet apart. And again, we talked about everyone wearing masks. So we are not going to be serving lunch. We will have grab and go available for those students that qualify for it. And we feel that it's just one less huge area and huge congregation of students that we don't want to have to worry about at the moment. So for our Oxford Street Elementary, you can see the overview. So 4 hours and 15 minutes with remote synchronous instruction. You can see where the start time was, and then in the afternoon, there will be virtual instruction and the office hours for the staff and remote advisor. Each day, so remember, we're going to be for the elementary school, we'll be Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. You can see 4 one-hour periods where you have ELA Math Science, or ELA and Math 5-day Science and Social Studies 4, Phys Ed 2, in-person 2 remote, and all specials will be virtual. We may adjust this schedule, just so everybody knows that this is where we stand at the moment. We've had some feedback about possibly altering some of that as far as what classes will be taught when, and we'll go, as we go through August, we will be making some changes. Okay, the high school overview. So we're using what we're calling the 3-2 hybrid half day. So as you can see, last name A to K will be Team Scarlet. They will be in for the first week, Monday through Wednesday, and then attend virtually Thursday, Friday, and then the next week we will flip that with the last names L to Z. So over 10 days, you'll be in for 5 in the high school, and you'll be virtually learning for 5. Again, lunch eating at home, grab and go for free and reduced students given when they walk out. And you can see our schedule period of 37 minutes, 36, 37, etc. We've also built in additional passing time for the students, so that way they have a little bit more time to get to the rooms, and the teachers will have an opportunity to go through and disinfect the rooms as best they can in that short amount of time. So you can see our expectations for the learning. And again, we're going to be with the mindset that whether you are here or virtual, that you will log in at the same time. So you'll be doing your classwork as the class is doing it. Unlike when we were in the virtual setting, I think back from March to June, we were a little bit more flexible with that, but now we're going to be continuing at a normal pace. And you can see teachers will teach via Google Meets. And the expectation for assignment submissions will be clearly laid out by the teachers. Okay. This is another just about how kids entering and exiting the building and moving around. As you can see, first and foremost, visitors will enter and exit the building through the main entrance. So for the high school up front, and then for the Belvidere Elementary School up front also, we're not going to allow anybody else in anywhere else. They also will have to come in and exit the same spot. We are not going to really allow visitors through the building at all. If you're here and dropping something off, we'll have somebody meet you, and that will be that. Anyone who is going to guidance or anything like that, we are going to make sure that we check their temperatures and things like that and make sure they're okay. You can see all the things about wearing masks, and then again signage, and then we will have staff in the morning and in the afternoon to monitor the doors when they're entering and exiting the building, making sure that the students have their masks and are in place. Okay, this is one of those areas which we may change a bit. We are going to be asking parents to screen their children before putting them on the bus or driving them to school or allowing them to walk to school. You know, do a temperature check. If it's over 100 degrees, we're asking you to keep your student home and just notify the nurse. Any of the COVID-19 signs, please keep them home and let us know. We will have a section in the parent portal on Genesis where you can fill that out. And once the students are at school, we'll be asking the staff just to do a visual check. Any students not feeling well should go straight to the health office. And then we'll be working with the staff about whether or not we're going to do a temperature check with them. We go back and forth. This is one of the guidances that changes a lot with the CDC about temperature checks, yes or no. Tomorrow morning I have a county meeting where we do have the county health official will be there. I suspect he'll give us an updated version of what we should be doing. This is also something I think are on a lot of folks' minds. This is current. This is as of Monday. The Warren County Regional Community, basically the health department puts this out. What's going to happen when there's a confirmed case, whether it's a student or faculty, probable case, student or faculty, and then reported and close contact. I expect this will also change a bit tomorrow too. This is probably the one document I expect to change the most between now and September the 8th. And we will keep updating that on. But you can see right now, if there's a confirmed case, we will be working with the health department. We're following the health department guidelines first and foremost. I know everybody points to the CDC guidelines. We expect that the health department will be following them as well. So we'll be following along what they have to say. Anyone in a class or on a bus with a confirmed case are quarantined for 14 days. Confirmed case will isolate for 10 days. And then since they had their symptoms and fever for no more than 24 hours before they can come out of that. So that is what's coming down from the health department. If something does occur, we will be working closely with them. The idea of any kind of contact tracing will be done through the Warren County Health Department. And then when this goes up, you can kind of see what happens with the probable case and the reported symptoms. So it's changing, and I think some of the guidance on how long you need to quarantine for is going to change as well. Just to keep in mind some of our support services that we'll have as we go through this, we obviously are very concerned about our students and their well-being. We will have counselors available. If you're not aware, we will have a full-time counselor, guidance counselor in the middle school, well actually the whole pre-K to 8 school. Child study team members will also be available. And then we'll make sure parents know which outside agencies you can use. And we also are very concerned about the well-being of our staff, social emotional well-being. We should all recognize that for a lot of our students, this was a traumatic event, being out of school, and we want to make sure that they're okay when they get here, which is why I, for one, really hope that we do not go all virtual. I would love for the kids to be in here so we can see how they're doing, and I just feel that, like many of us do, that being here is much more important. And obviously, as I said to begin, we will continue to monitor the situation. Things have been changing almost daily, and we do know that what is in place today will likely be changed a few times before we begin our school year. That's the quick version of the presentation. Can certainly open it up for questions. I think let me just make sure I got some of the notes that I wanted to make sure I went over. And again, like I said, everything should be, we want to make sure we understand we're all flexible, and where we start is not likely where we finish. I think we learned that from last year, that can't count on same starting point and ending point. So with that being said, I'll turn it back over, and if you want to go through the agenda and just approve the policies and then questions, or however you want to do it.
Well, I would say if there's any questions from the board, we can do those now. We'll quickly do those few policies, and then we'll open it up for public participation, which will be when the public can ask any questions. So who has what questions from the board? Catherine.
I have quite a few.
I'll run down your list, because maybe you'll knock them off somebody else's list.
Some of them were knocked off, there were 90. Now they're knocked off. So there's less now. All right. So in the reopening plan, it says students who are required to wear face coverings when a minimum of 6 feet is not able to be maintained. Later on, it says promote behaviors requiring both students and staff to wear face masks at all times. And then under the Belvidere School District guidelines and the protective equipment, it says all staff and students must wear a face covering. So I'm confused whether face masks are required or they're not. When are they required and when are they not?
So in my opinion, it's going to be that they should be required at all times for everyone. Whole day.
Sitting in the desk?
Mhm.
What was the basis for that decision?
Just going back and forth with some of our health officials and conversation, I just think to start, I think it's a good place to start.
Masks all day long?
Mm-hmm.
Half day.
Early dismissal.
Even if, but 6 feet distancing maintained, they did not have to wear masks.
I understand that. I just think for the safety of the staff and for the kids, it makes most sense.
I can't support that. My next question, I'm actually really shocked, so I just want to say about that. People keep discussing all these health risks. Has anyone asked, like, all of these like this clean chemicals and the sanitation and everything, how healthy is that for our kids to be breathing on a regular basis?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that question.
Can we ask the nurses? Because that's honestly, like, I can tell you right now for my son, who gets migraines on a regular basis, who, by the way, has only gotten 2 since we shut down school. So he's had just as many issues in 3rd Street as he had in Oxford Street. In fact, it got worse in Oxford Street. Other people have different issues.
So
But I have a question
about respiratory mainly,
I'm talking about-
spray aerosol, because what the teachers use to clean desks and surfaces will be wipes,
Okay.
and that shouldn't cause any.
What about the special cleaning stuff that the custodians?
That's done in the evening or in the bathrooms during the day, the high traffic areas, that is not done in each individual classroom.
So while the students are present, there's no, so while students are present, there's no,
Nobody's,
other than the normal wipes in the desk?
nobody will be walking around with a wand like you've seen the custodians do to clean the areas, correct?
Okay.
I assume OSHA has an approved, I know OSHA has an approved cleaning list, so I'm
Yes, they're
assuming
all,
we're
they're all
picking from that
approved.
list.
They're all approved by OSHA. We also have Odorox machines, which are also in several of the high traffic areas in both the health offices, the main offices, some of the classrooms may have them. And they filtrate the air too, air particles. There's one out in the gym lobby you can look at that he ordered, so.
And
Anything
he
more
said
from
it was
me?
mostly a health decision about the face masks?
Yes, generally, they've talked about mask breaks, but they've kind of moved away from that. So where you get the 6 feet apart is, say you took your class outside for recess, and especially the little kids, you want to give them a break. They're 6 feet apart, they're outside, they can remove their mask. The problem with taking them on and off, they forget, and then they forget to put them back on. So if they just leave them on, and I've also said if they're taking a drink of water, they're allowed to have water or a snack or whatever. For a few minutes, they could take it off, drink a sip of water like I've been doing when I'm sitting here. That's allowed. But that's where you get that 6 feet. It's outside. If you hear Governor Murphy, he says it all the time. It's outside. If you could be 6 feet away, then no masks.
But in school, it says 6 feet, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I want to make a point, if we're wearing masks all the time, then why aren't all the kids back in school?
What do you mean? What all kids aren't back in school?
Yeah, well, I guess my point is that I'm kind of shocked by this too, because I thought we had worked out this whole plan of social distancing so that the kids could have breaks with the masks. And if they're wearing the masks all day, why do we need to split the groups? I guess.
Because the incidence of respiratory transmission is higher inside. And that's why they stress, that's what the Board of Health has stressed.
So even though we have more of a chance of getting in a car accident on the way coming here,
Correct.
we have to make our students sit with a mask all day long. And
4 hours, 4 hours. And I'm sure they're going to build in, recess outside. I don't know about the high school. High school kids are a little bit better at doing this. You have workers out there that are wearing masks while they're working. It's, no difference. That's why they talk about mask tolerance, building up a tolerance to wearing a mask. Start now.
And this is another nurse question.
Yes.
Probable case, can you
Yes.
define that? What's a probable case?
A family member, so say your husband contracted COVID, when I would do the contact tracing, you would be listed and your children as probable cases. You would self-quarantine also for 14 days, and you would monitor yourself for symptoms. So, or I should say 10 days, they keep changing it. It was 14, now it's 10.
And then it
That
says
is true.
presenting symptoms, nurse does further screening. What does that screening include?
That would be contact tracing. We would, ask them what their symptoms are, take their temperature, blood pressure,
No official COVID test.
No. No, we're not doing in-school testing at this time. Nope.
I think that's it for my nurse.
Okay. You're welcome.
The visitors, I saw that we're limiting, but we're not limiting. What are we doing?
We're limiting, yeah, like somebody come, the only way you're getting past the main office is if you have an appointment in the guidance department, basically. Or you're here to do work, meaning, servicing, plumbing or something like that.
So we're really not allowing visitors.
Yeah, no, no, I meant
Okay. Wait, I had the same question as
Yeah,
Kevin, because
no,
it's like,
no
you're
visitors.
saying they're okay, but.
No,
Okay,
nope. I was thinking more along the lines of someone had to do work.
right.
That's a visitor to me also.
And then the last question would be the lunch. I know other sending districts, I don't know what Hope's doing, but I know they're eating lunch at their desk. I don't understand why K through 8 can't be in full day with lunch, although now that you're saying masks are required, right?
Yeah. I think it becomes also an issue of teachers'
So
lunch,
wearing
teachers' prep.
masks over the full day.
Correct. Hope, to my knowledge, is not serving lunch. Good, thank you.
No.
White Township is.
Well, it's done a shortened day, but serving lunch, right? Is that what you said, Ted?
As far as I know.
Yeah, I know, it's all gonna change.
Are all the Warren County districts making their kids wear masks at the desk?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I know
I-
one that is, that's all I can tell you.
I can ask that question tomorrow. I can get a better answer.
Yeah, Washington Township is, kindergarten,
You're
K
gonna
to
see
8.
a large percentage of people not sending their kids if that's required too. You're gonna see that drop now that you clarify masks required, like I'm not sending my kid for it, I'm not sending it. Not just gonna sit with a mask for 4 hours. So, that just, right there, that just decided for me. And I originally sent in that I would be sending my kid in person, so.
I think I have the biggest issue with the fact that, Governor Murphy said that the parents have the option, and I think that that's great, that parents have the option of choosing to teach their, do the virtual option. However, the parents that are willing to send their children, I think, are making that decision because they feel that outweighs, those risks outweigh the mental and social and educational risks. So I can get behind a plan a half day for a little while if my kids are going 5 days a week and high school for 3 and then 2. But I really hope we can move along because as a parent that is sending my children, I want them to have as normal an education as possible. And I just assume that the parents that aren't comfortable are choosing to stay home anyway. So the ones that are choosing should be able to have a little bit more say. And as they were saying with the masks, I understand it. I just assumed when you're 6 feet apart at a desk, the mask would be off.
You can certainly revisit it.
And let me correct myself. I just had to quickly go. All of this is just, I can't remember everything. Yes, we are. We do have a lunch recess.
For Hope.
Are you going full-time? Are you going a full day
No.
back, like a 3/4 day or something?
We're starting at 8:30, going to 1.
So it's kind of-
And we have 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. And the Wednesday is for, I believe, a deep cleaning.
So you're really only going 10 minutes more than us, and then you have a day off that we don't. So we actually are going back more
Yeah.
in school. Okay.
What about the medical exemption for masks?
If you have it, yeah, we'll certainly take it.
Because Mr. Carabina said that was going to change, that you could, the new state of New Jersey most likely would follow Pennsylvania and not allow medical exemptions for masks.
I have not heard that that's the case as of right now.
I haven't heard that.
Haven't heard that.
Pennsylvania still has a medical
So your
exemption for
child
masks.
will still get a medical exemption?
Yep.
And not have to wear it at any time? Correct.
I have concerns about
Go for it.
how special services will be incorporated. I don't think that there's enough time today to. You talk loud. Yeah, we can't hear you at all. Air conditioning on, we can't really hear anything.
We don't have air conditioning, so that's not what's on. I wish we did too.
We can't really hear much at all. With the plan, my concerns are mostly for special needs and special pullouts, what would happen with that? There's a lot of questions I have for those things, and I don't think any of them are addressed in the plan. So I just want to make sure that we are concerned about that as well.
Yeah, we are very concerned about that. We're trying to work possibly to have some of the extended services done in that virtual time in the afternoon.
What are you saying? I cannot hear you. I'm talking about special ed, so.
I'm saying, yeah, I'll just put the microphone right to my mouth. Okay, I got you. We're going to be looking at not only the pullouts like we had traditionally done, but also in that extended time in the afternoon. Looking to see the special services can be met, during that time. In person. Yeah, our goal for special ed is to do as much, if not all of it, in person as we can. Recognizing, and I said this before, that probably our special ed students suffered the most through the shutdown because of the virtual nature of what was attempted to be done. So we're going to be very conscious of that moving forward.
And that would include anyone with an IEP or?
Correct.
Other questions for Chris? I have a list as well, but
I just have a question of what happens if the part where the parents are supposed to put on Genesis or give a sheet saying their child doesn't have any symptoms, like we're kind of just trusting the parents to do this. What happens if it's not done? Are we making phone calls, or is it just easier to do the temperature checks here, or I don't know.
Donna's going to come up.
Rely on parents now to do that.
So, yes, we are relying on parents to be honest. It's like if you've had a recent doctor or dentist appointment, you have to say you haven't traveled out of the state, you haven't had any symptoms for the past 14 days. It'll be those similar. It's easier. We're not set up to take mass temperatures. The CDC just came out and is, advising against that. Some schools are doing it by those walkthrough. Yeah. So we have plenty of, thanks to the donation of the Department of Health and Safety, they gave us, the no contact thermometers. So I would say if, these teachers know their kids, and if they know, Johnny just doesn't look right, they're going to send him to us immediately. That's when we can do a more thorough screening. But in the meantime, take the kid's temperature at home, do a quick fill out of those forms. If you answered no to everything, if there is a yes answer, I'm hoping the parent will keep that student home, and we will be flagged if there are yes answers, both Sue and I.
The parent just forgets to do it?
I can, we can do phone calls. I mean, that we just, I'm sure that will happen. It's like any of the other forms. Staff also has a similar form to fill out too on their employee portal.
on that subject before you walk away, and maybe it's not for you, maybe it's more for Chris. I'm with Jen. I had 3 kids, okay,
Yes.
they're older, they're out now.
Right.
When we were rushing around in the morning to get out the door to school, I am not going on the parent portal
I
and
know.
checking off all these questions for
I
3
know.
kids. It's
Hey.
just, I'm telling you, it's not gonna happen.
I know.
Staff too, you're rushing on your way to get out to work. I don't
It's-
see the enforcement piece of that.
Right. It's what, I work very closely with Warren Hills, and they're doing the same thing. Their sending districts are doing the same thing. It's just, it's like my husband works for the water company. He has to get up every morning, and I have to remind him, don't forget to take your temperature and log in. I mean, it's one way that the health department has recommended that we do it, because these mass screenings of temperature checks are not all effective, so.
All right, we're gonna have to watch that one, because I just don't,
Yeah,
I
we
don't
can watch
see
it.
that
Oh, yeah,
working. Hopefully I'm
definitely.
wrong, I just don't see that working.
No, you're probably right, yep.
Is the questionnaire going to be daily?
Yes, it is a daily questionnaire. Yep.
Wait, you gotta hold on until public participation, I'm sorry. Other questions from the board? All right, I have a few.
Go ahead.
Probably not as many as Jen. And some of mine have been answered.
Catherine.
The visitors
Give Catherine a
list-
credit, don't you?
Or Catherine,
Give
sorry.
Catherine a credit.
It says more staff rooms, and I'm reading from the detailed plan that they have not seen, but it says more staff, restrooms will be made available. Where are we gonna get those restrooms?
We're going to use 1 or 2 of the kids' restrooms.
We're gonna take them away from the kids and give them to the staff? Okay.
That's in the high school, we will have less students per day.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Clarify that, right?
Thank you.
And it's typical bathrooms that get shut down because of smoking or vaping or whatever.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's temperature checks. It says we have disinfecting equipment currently on order. Do we know, Shel, when that's expected to come in?
We have several items that we've already ordered, but we've ordered more multiples of them. So at this point, the custodial staff believes we have enough to open.
Okay.
So just trying to get, the extras, so that, one question I know comes up is, are we going to provide masks? We do have a stockpile of masks, even though I will remind you were against that early on.
Still am, but
Okay. And at that point, we've ordered additional in case we go through those at a quicker pace than anticipated.
And back to the question, when are they doing? Because the shortages are phenomenal out there in the real world.
Yeah.
For what type of items?
It just says disinfecting equipment currently on order. 32 pieces wall-mounted hand sanitizing units for the classrooms, 2 Victory electrostatic sprayers, 1 Victory electrostatic backpack sprayer, 1 MS jet motor scrubber. Disinfecting equipment, that's the disinfecting equipment also currently on 4 Oxidor box hydroxycilline generators, I don't know what it is, but
Yeah. That's the odor ox machine that she was referring to. Like I said, what we have here, we believe is enough that we can open. We can do better cleaning than maybe was done previously, but we're trying to still amp it up. Sometimes they're telling us it's September, October, but
sometime in the fall then is the answer
that's
probably?
what the answers are.
Okay, I'm just asking what the answer is.
Yeah, that's what we're being told. We think we have enough supplies to open.
There's a section in here about cleaning locker rooms. I thought they were closed.
Locker rooms are closed. Yep. they're
Weight
closed.
room. Gyms are closed, but we're open in our weight room?
I personally haven't given that a thought. I'll have to go back and review that, Mr. Bartow.
Kitchen is closed, but we have a whole thing here on how we're going to clean the kitchen.
Still gonna be people in there.
But they're not going to be, we don't have to clean the serving areas, right? We don't have to degrease the cleaner and the trash. So that was just a question. We talked about this. That might be all my questions, because I think the rest might be on stuff that we already discussed. Staffing, we talked about that. That's it. That's all mine.
I have a question about August 10th. If that's the date that parents are going to opt for virtual, are you going to make an all call?
Yeah, so, good question. I should have brought that up in my presentation. The idea will have the plan approved at the county office hopefully by Monday. If I had mentioned in finance, we're waiting for a checklist to come down from the Department of Education to check our plan against. We'll release the plan on Monday officially, and we're going to ask the parents by August 10th, which will be 7 days, to let us know if they are opting their students to a virtual setting.
And that's for the whole trimester?
For pre-K to 8, we are going to move to a trimester. So 60-day 3 times, rather than 45 for 4. High school will stay in the marking period setting. So if you opt your student out, it'll be for the entire trimester, or for the high school, it'll be for the entire marking period. Thanks for reminding me. I did forget that.
Any other questions for Chris?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Shoot.
Number one is, sports are happening no matter if we're virtual or not as of right now, unless something changes with the New Jersey body that governs that, correct?
That is correct. We're waiting word from the NJSIA. I can tell you that today the PIAA announced that sports will take place as scheduled. So I assume that the NJSIA had already bumped them back a month to start in October. I assume that we'll stay on that track.
Okay, so if we go virtual, then they'll just do whatever their practice times are. If they're half a day, then they all go home for however long, and then they have to get a ride back to practice. Is that how it'll be? Or-
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so it won't be till after the end of a regular school day that any practice would be
Correct.
start.
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
Number 2 is, are you still offering then the work release programs, depending on if you go like all day virtual, or what will be the guidelines for kids that maybe applied for work release programs?
We'll still offer, we're obviously going to have to tighten up the guidelines. I don't have those specifically at the moment, but yeah, we'll still offer that. I think we've had a lot of success with that here in the past.
Just asking because if the virtual kids have to sign in at
Yep.
certain times, how's that going to work for them?
Yeah.
Number 3 is, what is the average class size we're talking about for each classroom because of spacing?
It certainly depends on what we're talking about. So pre-K to 8, I think the average class size is probably about 16 or 17. Chris, either nod your head or shake it one way or the other. Am I on the right track? You can hear me. High school it's going to depend on the actual course. So for our English classes, the average size is probably 22 or 23. Some of our social studies classes are probably average a little bit higher than that. Then you have certain like math electives that might be lower than that, so it's going to really depend on the actual class.
Okay.
So some of them, our biggest concerns would be the major subjects, i.e. English, social studies, math. Science has some pretty high numbers as well.
Okay. And then I didn't, maybe you might have said it, but I didn't hear it because your back was to me. But you had on there like phys ed, how they were doing that. What are we doing with art or music or any of that?
So just for the record, high school will continue on a quote-unquote normal schedule, so they'll run through their normal rotation. Right now, we'll be doing all of our specials minus, I don't consider phys ed, we talked about this before, phys ed is not a special to me, it's a required course. They'll be doing all of the specials virtually.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's move on to the agenda items. Can I get a motion and a second to approve policy items 1 through 12?
I actually have one more question, is it too late?
No, go ahead. I'll let you go.
The sports, what are the mask requirements with sports outside?
When they're engaged in the actual sporting activity, there is no requirement. They can take it off if they're doing an aerobic activity.
So if all the football players line up or soccer players line up on the line, they don't have to wear a mask?
As long as they are doing physical activity.
All right, if they just line up and they're standing there, they're supposed to wear it.
Right, if
they're
the coach
lining
is,
up on
if the
line
coach is
to play,
instructing, they should be wearing it, yeah.
then they can take it off.
If they're lining up because they're going to run, then the idea is that they're going to be engaging in it.
They're not wearing masks and they're less than 6 feet apart during sports, when they're playing.
Correct.
Yep.
But then on the sideline, they're enforcing that even though they're all mixing together less than 6 feet apart while they're playing.
Yes,
But then the students have to wear, even though they're 6 feet apart, they still have to wear a mask.
correct.
Okay.
All right, back to the motion and a second for agenda items 1 through 12.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris on the agenda item, on the policy items? This is first reading, so we will have a second reading at the next meeting.
Correct.
No questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. A motion and a second for agenda items 13 and 14 for education, which includes the restart plan.
I thought we didn't approve the restart plan. I thought it just kind of, we asked our questions and they didn't need our approval.
He really doesn't, but he's got
Really
it
don't.
on here, so.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering how to vote on that.
Do you want to just, you don't have to vote on it, you want to table it? Do you want to
Just
not
table
discuss it? Because you did say we would have further discussion anyway, so.
Well, and we don't really need to approve it
Right,
anyway.
correct.
All right, so we're going to take it off. So it's only agenda item 14, which is approve of fundraising reimbursement. Any questions for Chris on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, continuing business? Mr. Rennie? I don't think so at this
I've
time.
been asked a lot of questions. I'm sorry. No,
Go
it's
ahead.
not continuing.
New?
It's new.
All right, there's no continuing, any new business?
I've been asked questions about the flagpole outside on, I think the graduation, people noticed there was no flag. I guess the fire department comes and does it for the games and stuff like that, but flagpole's there, but there's no flag
Up front?
in the, no, with the.
By the scoreboard?
Yeah, by the scoreboard. I don't know.
Oh,
I've had
it's a good
couple
question.
of times.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that. I don't know the answer to that
I don't
question.
know the answer to that either. Any other new business? Okay, public participation. Oh, go ahead.
Quick question. We have the Belvidere app. I know, like, 2 years ago, we pushed for everybody to get on the Belvidere app. But it doesn't ever seem to update very much.
I know.
So is there a way, this is probably a question for you, is there a way that everything is getting put on the website, comes to the app? Because I just know.
It's off the website, so whatever's on the website, it's put to the app automatically.
But it doesn't seem like I checked the app.
I'll take a look.
Okay, yeah, I'll check the app
It's
sometime.
back in here, it's done.
Because I'm thinking if we can get that, people can set it up where they get an alert for their app, it might be more inclined.
So with our Blackboard, everything
looking at it now.
But if
Still
it
has
pops
senior
up
night.
all the time, you go, oh, there's something new, let me look at it. Thank you.
Point well taken. Okay, nothing else? I'm looking at you because you usually jump in just as I say that. Okay, public participation. Does anybody from the public have anything? We'll take you first. Remember, wear your mask. Tell us who you are.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Heather Durr. I have 3 children in the school district. First, I want to thank everyone. I know that you're in a very difficult position. You can't please everyone, and I appreciate everyone's effort. Secondly, I would like to thank you also your effort involving the sports. I have an incoming freshman who's in boys soccer, and to my observation, it is very organized and it's being done in a very safe manner, and I appreciate you even trying to do it. So thank you. I just have 2 quick questions. One, you mentioned the Chromebooks that will be, each child will have to have one when they're in school. My question is the school going to be providing the Chromebooks?
Yes.
And do they take them home with them? Okay.
Yes and yes.
Because during this shutdown, like my children opted not to use the school one. They have their own, but so for your organization, you want everyone to have the school issued one, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Secondly, is a procedural question for the nurse. If I take my child's temperature and they have a temperature, obviously there could be 1,000,001 different reasons why they have a temperature. They could have strep throat or whatever. What is the exact procedure? They have a temperature, and obviously, like, I wouldn't send them to school even before COVID if they had a temperature. Do I then make an appointment to the doctor to get them tested for COVID? Or do we wait a few days? Like, truth be told, I'm the type of mom that if they have a fever, I don't rush them to the doctor. I wait a day or 2. So what is the exact procedure during these times? And thank you. That's it.
If you don't mind.
Just give Dawn a microphone.
So obviously, if it's 100 or more, and we do, believe me, these are discussions the school nurses have had. If we get a kid down to our office that doesn't feel well, but we know they get sinus infections or strep throat very easily. Obviously, the key is the high fever, the cough, the dry cough, the chills, the achiness. So you would kind of assess your child and say, oh, it's probably your allergies. 24 hours without aspirin or Tylenol or whatever, as long as they're fever-free, they can come back to school without a doctor. You don't have to take them to the doctor. You can use your judgment. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
So it's not like, even so if they came to school and they have a fever, it's not like you have to get COVID tested before they
No. Only if they have the other symptoms, or they've been a probable case like we talked about, or they've been in contact with, been to a party or something. No, only in those cases would I recommend that. Yep. You're welcome.
Yeah, come on up.
Barbara Margulies.
You got to speak up, Barb. I can't even hear you.
Barbara Margulies. I have a son who's going into 10th grade, and he is special ed classified, but the question I have is, if we offer virtual learning, how are you going to make it work for, he has cooking and he has chemistry lab. I could see, he actually did really well doing virtual over the last 2, 3 months, whatever, but those kind of classes, I can't understand how we're going to swing it. So, and also my big question is, how can I help him with resource when I'm working and I'm going to be keeping on top of him as far as his schoolwork. And it was a lot easier when we were doing lockdown. So he gets resource in class, but I was his resource person. So are there going to be resources that I can use if we offer the virtual?
So the short answer is yes. Obviously, we're very conscious of following the IEPs and what's written in the IEP. I guess I'll go back to your first question with like a chemistry and a cooking class. One of the things we're getting ready to do is do some extensive training for our staff on virtual learning overall. And one of the things we're going to be focusing on is, content specific. So how do you show a chemistry experiment virtually? Well, there's probably a lot of ways that we really haven't, tapped into just yet, and we plan to do that. Same thing with cooking. Well, obviously, it's not going to be the same experience of being in that lab cooking on a stove, again, virtually, or is there something that can be done where, it depends on how comfortable you are with him cooking on his own or something to that effect. But, I think you're going to see a lot of virtual simulations. I think a lot of teachers, and I won't say all the teachers, are planning on recording a lot of their lessons, so that way, if I need to put the computer right by the stove, I can do that kind of stuff. But as far as the resource classrooms, we still have our resource room teachers, we still have our in-class support teachers, and they'll be, doing the same job that they did.
Because while we were doing the quarantine, we didn't have any kind of resource.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to
Yeah.
step up, learn Algebra 1 all over again, that kind of thing.
And I'm just going to say that if that's the case, and you notice that within a week, make sure you reach out to myself or the high school principal, so we can address that immediately. We don't want to be, in a situation where you let it go for about a month and then we realize that something was missed. So if there's an issue right away, let us know.
Okay.
You got your hand up, like, we'll take her and then you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Coffin. I have 2 kids in the district. Could you just clarify a little bit more about the synchronous learning that we're going to be doing during the virtual periods and if we opt for virtual? I know I'm not the only parent in this situation, that I have 2 kids in 2 different grades. I also work full-time at home. I just wonder how feasible it is to do synchronous learning with 2 kids, 2 grades, 2 devices. Some families maybe don't have enough devices. And also how it's going to work if, a parent isn't able to facilitate that synchronous learning. Like, I don't want necessarily my child to be penalized if I can't get him logged into a Zoom meeting on time because I have my own meeting, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you could just clarify how that will work.
So right now, I'll say the way we envision it is that for the synchronous learning, I'm not sure if you want to give me, what grade is your children?
I have a third, going into 3rd and 7th.
Okay, so,
They're going to be in school.
what's that?
They're going to be in school, K-8.
But she's opting virtual.
Oh, she
But if we,
virtual.
and then you also
Yeah.
mentioned 12:20 to 2:25 would be virtual every day.
Right.
So
So
you
you'll
can
have-
get them home and start them on virtual during that time if they're in the building until 12:20, right?
Correct. So you will, so if your children are staying home, I think that's how you started the question. Yeah, we'll use your 3rd grader. So and for the first block, the first hour, they're scheduled to do language arts. The way we are hoping it's going to work out right now is that the teacher will be mic'd up, not camera, microphone, and then a screenshot of what they're teaching based off of their smart board. So for that 20, 25, almost 30 minutes, it's almost as if they're in the classroom. They're hearing the teacher, not seeing what's going on in the classroom, and on their computer screen is going to be what's being taught.
Okay.
So there'll be that interaction. And then when it's independent learning time, they're going to be working on their own at that point. So that does present a challenge. But if there's an issue where you know that you're home, but you have a Zoom meeting, as long as you make contact with the teacher or make an arrangement with Mr. Carabinas, we can work around those. We can work around that. And that is why we build some time in the afternoon for the remote advisors, we're calling it, so that way I was there, but I still had a couple of questions. I didn't get a chance to get them answered. Now I can reach out to the teacher and
I'm just
do
saying, I
that.
see that for a lot of families, that's
Yeah.
going to be a constant issue. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be really hard to manage that. If we choose all virtual, it's going to be really difficult to manage that on a regular basis, but even every afternoon from 12:20 to
Sure.
2:25 or whatever
Sure.
it is. And my other question is, you mentioned that you're going to have to adjust some of your safety protocols as far as keeping windows open, keeping doors open. How are you adjusting the safety procedures for the building, lockdown drills and things like that to address those changes in safety protocols?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And I'm going to say I don't have the answer 100% on that. We have been working, and for almost all of us, I know Dennis Riley, former Chief Riley, he's working with the county on that and trying to come up with better protocols and what we're going to do. You know, for example, if you had to do an evacuation drill or a true evacuation, how are you maintaining social distance and things like that? And then the question becomes, what's more of a priority, the kid's safety or the social
I'm
distancing?
not so much worried about that. I'm
Yep.
more so worried about having like doors open and how that affects the safety and integrity of the
Yeah,
building.
it's a concern, and it's something that, you know, we bring up quite regularly. But again, it's a balancing act of, you know, the health versus the safety, like that aspect, so.
Okay, just one more quick
Sure.
question. So you mentioned if there is a confirmed case in, let's just say, in my son's third grade class, will the whole class have to isolate for 10 days? The whole class will go virtual for 10 days? Like,
Yeah, I'll say
is that the
likely.
procedure?
I will also say that I promise you between now and September 8th, the guidance on that will change a couple
Yeah,
of times.
That was my
But
question. Like,
if it was today, yeah, the whole class would quarantine, not isolate, quarantine. Remember, there's a big difference between isolation and quarantine. They'd be required to quarantine for the 10 days.
okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Yep, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Laura Kennedy. I am a resident of Belvidere. This is actually the first year my son will be attending. So I just need some clarification. But first and foremost, I did want to say thank you for allowing the parents to get up before you push this through. I like to be an educated parent before making a decision or voicing an opinion, comments, or whatever. So I appreciate that. Once the school goes virtual, is there going to be a chance of it going back to half days or full days? Or once it's virtual, we're done?
So do you mean in the sense of the governor pulls the trigger and says you need to be in an all virtual environment?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah, our guess, and that's really what it is at this point, is that virtual will not last an entire year. That if we have to go out, there will be a point where we do return to in-person.
Okay, so how would that transition then, going back and forth, work? Is it a lot like what's happening now? I know that's hard to, you don't have a crystal ball, and I get that, but.
Yeah, you know, that's probably the question we ask ourselves almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week right now. What is that going to look like? And I think we all recognize going back to March 13th how quickly that could flip.
Right.
I would expect to go back the other way, to go back from all virtual to in-person. There's going to be a little bit more of a leeway time. I wouldn't think I would call on a Friday and say, see you Monday. I would think I'd call you on a Friday and say, see you the following Monday. Give us time to prepare. Personally, I know that going back to the spring, we talked about that. There was always the question mark, would Governor Murphy allow us back into school? And we had actually had plans sort of written for that, just in case the staff and students didn't come back. So I don't have a really good specific answer what that's going to look like, but I do think that it's easier to bring the kids back than it is to take them out. So I think we'd be well prepared for that.
Okay, I think you started answering a question, or maybe it was in your presentation, but if you do go virtual, are we as parents at that point going to say, okay, well, what if I don't want to do virtual? What if I do just want to take out and do homeschool? Like, what is going to be the procedure for that? Because I will tell you 1,000% virtual did not work for my son.
Yeah.
I lost him. He is a gifted and talented kid, which I don't know how that's going to work here. I have no clue, but I am very concerned. So as a parent sitting there watching him go through this virtual learning, having been sent a YouTube video that sent him down a rabbit hole that was so unwarranted. So how here do you do virtual learning where there won't be a YouTube?
Yeah, so that's probably the $1 million question, and I think we recognize that if you take special ed students aside, the gifted and talented population was the group that suffered the most beyond the special ed kids. So right now, our plan is that I'm going to give you a long-winded answer, and I apologize for that, but we adopted a new RTI process back at the beginning of last year where we take a look at every kid 3 times a year, benchmark assessments 3 times a year. Plus this year we'll be working with a company called Linkit to really look at the data. So you're almost getting like a personalized plan for your student. That's going to take some time. I'm not going to sit there and say your kid gets tested on September the 10th, that on the 11th there's going to be this great plan. It's going to take a few, probably weeks to put that in place. But our goal is to make sure that all those supports are in place. So if I have a gifted and talented student, that I can expect that it's going to be just more than extra dittos or extra YouTube or extra, whatever video. That it's truly pointed to that student. So that's going to take some work on, the administrative, the counselors and things like that to get that set up. But we don't want it to be where just because you're any student, that you get pushed aside for any reason and we don't meet your needs. So we're really going to be conscious of that.
So if as a parent, and this, I guess, sorry, I'm not talking for anybody else, but if at some point I'm like, you know what, Belvidere just is not doing it, and I have to pull them out, like, what's that procedure at that point?
Yes, you could just sign out your student and homeschool them at any point. It's not,
Okay.
there's no
So even
ins or
if
outs
it's
in it.
virtual, you guys go virtual, and we're just done.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to 1000% disagree with the face masks. I know that this is a great, kind of compromise for the world that we live in, but if you are spacing them out 6 feet, this is awful, even for an adult. Like, I own my own business, I know we have to wear it, it's mandated or whatever it is, but this is ridiculous. That is the one that, like, I disagree with that, and I hope that each and every single one of you will look at that, because I don't have a breathing problem, but right now, I have a breathing problem. And even though I'm sitting here doing this a lot, oh my God, these poor kids. So I don't know how anything is set up. I was trying to ask my husband how everything was when he was here. But with giving the 6 feet, are you having shields there?
We do not have shields at the moment. No, we don't.
Okay, so if you put those in place, then what's the point of this?
We don't have.
I don't have them to put in place, though.
No, but if you have them 6 feet apart, what's the point of the mask?
There's still the potential for it to be spread through the air. I'll tell you right now, like, to be honest with you, like, I'm more than willing to relook at the mask situation. I'm not married to it 100%. We talked about this before. Anything we intend to be flexible, so can certainly look at that.
The compromise was that if they were 6 feet, they didn't have to wear it. Now we're just like going to the far extreme, they have to wear it 4 hours in the desk,
Yeah, and I kind of was under the impression, after seeing a lot of other school districts where there's plexiglass, like businesses have plexiglass, so even if there's that there, you don't need this. I mean, you have to choose one or the other, and I get rid of the mask, please.
Okay.
So that's just
We
my.
don't know how many kids are going to be in a classroom.
We don't know yet.
So
No.
we can't make those decisions at this moment.
Correct.
My first grader will show you.
Ma'am, can you wait till she's finished?
I guess my other question, and I don't know the nurse, sorry.
I'm the high school nurse.
Oh, okay. So what happens then if a parent does not jump on to do that form? So for me, and I know this is maybe a little selfish of the question, but I'm out of my house to work or for my athletics 3:30 in the morning to 5:30, and I don't get back until 8:30. So how am I going to take a temperature of my son who's already supposed to be in school and then filter it in? So will you not let him in that day?
No, if you think he's not feeling well, shoot.
Well, common sense tells me that you shouldn't send a kid, but common sense doesn't really run rampant these days, so.
You can, is what we're asking. It's what the Department of Health recommended as a way to prevent mass screenings, which will hold up the school day. The temperatures are not always the best on the outside. Coming into a school, riding on a hot bus. So this is what the health department has said to us, use your Genesis, use your parent portal, and put these forms on there, because that's what a lot of businesses are doing.
Not my business, but okay. All right, so thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and sorry that was so long.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to try and keep this brief because we're all sweating balls over here. Okay, so my name is Laura Foster Wazalewski. I will have 3 children in elementary school come September, 1 in 6th grade, 1 in pre-K, and my 5-year-old autistic child will be going into the MD program. I want to thank Danielle for bringing up special needs kids because I have not heard anybody talk about them. It wasn't in the presentation that I saw. Granted, I couldn't read it, but I haven't heard it. And I have been very communicative with yourself, with Mr. Karabinas, with Ms. Begelli the entire summer. And it is like pulling teeth to get any of you to respond when it comes to the special ed kids. And it's disrespectful, it is frustrating, and it is overwhelming for parents who already their children are missing out on an education because a lot of our special ed kids cannot learn virtually. So we're all trying to do the best we can. But when we reach out to you guys, there should be some sort of a response. There should be a communication without us having to reach out. I have not heard a word from Ms. Bigelli all summer long about any of the plans for special ed kids, because the reality for them is significantly different than the reality for gen ed kids. And as the mother of gen ed kids and a special ed kid, I can fully attest to that. I have reached out to Mr. Carabinas. I have reached out to Ms. Bigelli. 2 weeks ago, I sent an email asking about what the plan was for special ed. I'm still sitting here without a response. That has got to change. The communication from the administration has got to change. It has been a very long summer of silence from all of you, and that is disgraceful. Moving on, my 6th grader wanted me to ask about the locker situation. She's extremely excited about it. Will the children have lockers?
Good question. I don't believe we're going to use lockers to start the year.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Now you can talk.
All right. I'm too short for this. Whatever. All right, so yeah, my name is Danielle Jennings. A couple things. As I said, I will lend you my 1st grader if you would like experience with a mask and how it goes everywhere, but where it's supposed to be. I also think that maybe, I know we're looking at the school as a whole, as a K-12, but each grade has different needs and each age group. So the kids that don't have Chromebooks, so K to 2 or 3, they still need that face-to-face. They need to see their teacher's face to learn how to pronounce their words. My kids still can't say THs, and I have to sit there and show her with my tongue where it goes. Now the 3rd through 8th, they can usually read a little bit better, you know, so some of that more virtual stuff may be easier. High schoolers, to an extent, are a heck of a lot more self-sufficient. So rather than looking at everything as an overall, maybe break it up, because unfortunately it's not going to be black and white. We all know that. There will be gray zones. So also having the shortened day with no lunch. I get we don't want to use the cafeteria, but I will lend you my hungry 1st grader after 4 hours. You know, if we can fit in snack, great. But also, as I'm sure most of us work, I'm gone from 7:30, I work in a doctor's office, 7:30 to 5:30. So having a half day, my 75-year-old father-in-law couldn't even tell you what a tablet is. And that's what they use. They don't have the Chromebooks, the young kids. So she's using my iPad. She is pretty savvy, I'll give you that. But he can't help, and he's my babysitter, because obviously it is not the school's responsibility to provide childcare. I had my father-in-law move in with us. So he helps watch her. He'll feed her, yes, but he can't help with school. There's no way. So my thing is no mask for the little ones. As they get older, if they can wear it and tolerate it, great. I know you're gonna have the kid saying, I don't wanna wear it because he's not wearing it, or my younger sibling's not wearing it, but again, there's different needs, special ed, regular, anyone. But that's about it. Just my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I just respond to the mask thing
Yeah.
again? It's been great debate within the School Nurse Association and the board of the county, but we have ordered face shields. Again, both Ms. March and I thought that would work great for the little ones, like you were talking about, no mask and a face shield. The county epidemiologist was like, I don't know about that. Again, if you're doing the 6 feet apart, then perhaps the face shields would work. We're going to also offer them to our teachers to wear, they have to wear a mask underneath with a face shield, but she did say if they're in front of the classroom and away from the students, they could take their mask off to talk. I just recently am going to order face shields that are clear for those hearing impaired students, for those lower elementary teachers, that the kids do need to see their faces. So we're looking at ordering those too. Just wanted to add that. And back to the soccer. So they're still not close together when they're practicing, when they take their masks off. If you watch them on their drills, they are, even without masks on, they are several feet apart. There hasn't been a lot of contact yet. So again, we're only in the phase 2 guidelines, and they're taking it really slow.
It seems like a lot of hypocrisy. Like, I came to the Beauty and the Beast play, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
But I couldn't understand the logic that they could come out on, not stage, but
Right.
parking lot, and they were acting, and they were close together, and they were singing, and they were talking, and they were not 6 feet apart.
So you got to remember, it's
And when they walked back to their seat,
they had to sit down and put their masks
they
on.
did not wear, on the way to the seat, they did not wear their masks.
Right.
When they sat down, they put their masks on.
Correct.
That was completely pointless.
So the ideology behind that is 15 minutes of sustained close contact. So keep that in mind. So they would be casual contacts if anyone had come to, it's like passing a desk and talking to a coworker. It's 15 minutes of close, sustained contact. All right, so that's,
Close sustained contact.
yes,
So-
within a feet of each other with no masks on.
Okay, so theoretically, with that logic, then if it's not, then the kids don't need to wear masks to enter the school because it's not more than 15 minutes. They can just, and then the 6 feet apart again.
But, well, we could debate this all night, but that you have to get them to used to wearing it, because if, you know how kids are, once you tell them they don't have to wear them, and then you tell them that when they sit down, they have to put them on, it's a battle. It's better to start from the beginning to wear the masks.
I understand,
So.
and we're not gonna win this.
No.
I'm not gonna win.
Right.
You're a pro-mask argument.
Right,
I'm
right,
not
right,
pro-mask,
right.
whatever. I just don't like the hypocrisy where sports and activities, they can be close together, but
Right.
like my-
And it's
my
outside.
elementary
You got to remember it's outside. Same thing I said, and I don't know the elementary plan because I'm the high school nurse. They could go outside and have recess as long as they're 6 feet apart, well spaced apart. They should be able to remove their mask, and I believe they've been talking about doing that. Obviously, you can lift up your mask and take a sip of water, a snack, whatever. It's not.
But I
Yeah.
think the one gentleman said earlier, there is no proven fact that if they don't sit 6 feet apart and not wear a mask, that's
Correct.
It's gonna, there's no, we're just basing
Correct.
this on, we think this is the way it should be.
Correct.
But there's no proven logic or studies that say
Right.
this even works.
Right. The respiratory droplets can go from 3 feet to 20 feet. You're right. Correct. Yep. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
Did you have your hand up?
Susan Maxwell, my husband and I are here tonight. We have 3 children, one in high school, sophomore, and then a 6th and 5th and 6th, no, 6th and 7th it's gonna be. Maybe I'll be the final commentary of the night. Coming here tonight, I was pretty much go get them for sending the kids back. Our kids have been asking to go back since school closed. They miss their friends, they miss their interaction, they just miss school. After hearing everything tonight, I don't know if I'm gonna send my kids back. I'm not really 100% happy with a couple different things. And I'm not busting on anybody. I don't wanna bust anybody's bubble. We appreciate everything you're doing, and I know a lot of things nobody has answers to. The first thing is that, like other people, I thought the mask wasn't gonna be an option. My kids don't wanna sit in a classroom for 4 hours a day and not see anybody's faces. That's the first thing. I know that's gonna kill them. Fact of all is that half the board has the masks on now, half of us don't. And we're being really lax about it. Because why? It's hot in here. We don't feel comfortable with it. Maybe the nurse does because she's been used to it. And maybe we do have to get the kids up to this point. Second thing is that I'm not really happy about 16 or 28 kids in a classroom. Now, I know we can't determine that number at this time, but what if there's only 14 kids in the class? Maybe there's 21. 21 is still too many kids in a class for me. I would think 15 is the most. I'm thinking 4, 4, 4, 6, 6, 6. You gotta leave some room for the teacher to the chalkboard. I think that needs to be addressed. We have a whole school, 3rd Street, that's closed down. Why aren't we using that class? Why aren't we using that school? It's a perfectly logical question. We want our kids to go back to school to feel good. That was the whole thing. And believe me, I know we're in a pandemic. I know that we have to keep the kids safe. But I have a problem with that many kids being in a classroom, that's first. Secondly, I'm not really happy about people making a determination whether their kid is COVID or not. If a kid has a fever, how many, come on parents, you're on Facebook all the time, how many people are sending their kids to school sick because they can't get out of work? Come on, let's face this. Now we have an epidemic of COVID. This is my big problem. I have a child. I sent him to school. They had no fever. They call, 12 o'clock. Mrs. Maxwell, your kid has a fever. Okay. What do I do with my kid? Okay, so she's got a fever. She's got a cough. You know how many symptoms there are for COVID? They can have the pukes, they can have the craps, stomach aches, headaches. It's the whole thing of what kids get all year. So to have that and have them be fever-free for a day, I don't know if I'm comfortable with a kid going back to school, not seeing a doctor, and having a parent decide that, hey, my kid didn't have COVID. He's much better in 24 hours. I don't know if I'm pretty cool about that. Second thing is, I wouldn't want my kid to go back. See, there's 2 different odds. If somebody else's kid is sick, I don't want them in the classroom with my kid who's sick. I don't want them to make my kid sick. Second aspect is, how do I get my kid back into school? That was the whole question too. So that I have a problem with. I have some different holes that I was looking for reassurance here tonight, and I'm not quite getting them. And I think we're running out of time. I think we have to make a plan and stick to it. Half the time I couldn't hear a lot of different stuff, but we got 4 different options here. Half days, quarter days, virtual days, this day, that day. I got a kid in high school, and I got 2 kids in grammar school. So my high school kid's gonna be on what days? He's gonna be on and off, and then I have elementary school kids that are gonna be home. I work full time. Okay, so that's a problem. I don't know if everybody else feels the same way I do, but these are just some different general things. If we're gonna come to a conclusion, damn it, we need to come to a conclusion and stop tiptoeing around these different things. I think the 2 main things I have to really be concerned about is how many kids are in a classroom and the masks. There are other schools that have put dividers up and only have about 10 kids in a class. I just don't see, we're trying to keep the kids safe, but we're sending them into something that I don't think my kids are gonna really enjoy. And they did. You can't touch your friend, can't eat lunch with your friend. I don't know about music. Outside, I can't play ball with a friend. What is gym gonna be? So when you really pick apart everything, I don't know. Just to bring up things for everybody. I'm not here to knock anybody, I'm really not. I just wanna bring some different concerns. I listened through everything, but those are my main concerns. Too many kids in a classroom, and the sickness protocol has gotta be a little better. And to make people take their kids' temperatures, come on, we all know that. You can't even get kids matching socks out the door, never mind to go on Genesis, fill out 3 different forms, take 3 different temperatures every single day. It's not gonna happen. Then what do you do? Like you said, oh, well, it'll slide, this one's okay, that one's okay. They're not. We need to come to some idea, some consensus of what we're doing. And we need to stick our feet into it and just say, go. And I know things are changing, but we have to have time to plan. I have the option, I work with my father all day, so I'm very loosey-goosey. I can pick up kids and stuff and everything. But you do have parents that work all day, and they need to have some kind of regimen or some kind of schedule to get their lives a little bit back on order. I know it's the kids with school, but we gotta come to some conclusion. That's it, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Anybody else? Did I see a hand? No? All right, closing public participation. What do we got left? Just motion to adjourn, right?
I think so, yeah.
Can we just answer the question on Third Street?
Grace, you want to answer the question on Third Street?
Just so you know, we did look into opening Third Street. Myself and some other board members are in favor of it. We're being told that we can't because of,
I do not have another school nurse right now, and I am not comfortable opening a building without a nurse.
We can't have a building without a nurse. That's a definite. And
We did advertise for one. I
Nobody's
advertised one, and I have no applicants.
there's none available.
I advertise and have no applicants for the position.
one nurse.
Right.
But there's also.
Yeah.
It's not just a nurse. Well, that's where it's a little confusing, because there is a list of why we can't open third, but then the ultimate reason is because we can't find a nurse. But even if we could find a nurse, I don't think we would be opening third, right? That's the consensus.
That
Even
might
if
be,
we
yeah.
found a nurse tomorrow.
We found the nurse tomorrow, we would open the discussion right back up for me.
I thought if we found one by August 15th for our next meeting, then we could reopen that discussion.
Right.
And since we're not
Right.
starting in September 8th, which is what I really hope. I've been really
Right.
pushing opening Third Street.
Yeah.
A bunch of us have been.
And we would, the reason that we felt that it was good is because we could have K through second isolated in that building, so that, for instance, if someone in that building were to test positive, the middle schoolers aren't mixing with them as well. Right now, we have the middle school coming into the high school, now they have their own classrooms, but they're still going to the hallways and using the same bathrooms. So there's a lot of movement that way, and we didn't want the extra building, we're paying for it anyway.
We're lucky to have it.
We're very lucky to have it. We're one of the few districts that do have an extra building. My personal belief is that we should be absolutely finding a way to benefit from that. But we've gotten a lot of pushback on the other side about opening it. So that has been a major discussion and something that we've been trying to push for.
Well, without a nurse, no discussion.
Advertise on Indeed.
We've advertised in multiple spots, Mr. Blum.
Did you advertise on Indeed?
I'll have to check with Ms. Amelia on that one. That's not usually where the school nurses
School
work, but
districts
okay.
don't advertise on Indeed, and if you work for a school, or if you're looking for like a teaching job or nursing job, you're not looking on Indeed, you're looking at the school district's websites.
NJ.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, if nobody has anything else, can I get a motion in a second? Up.
Do we have any online participation?
Oh, thank you, sorry, I didn't even think of that.
There was only one.
I forgot that.
For the second one.
How would you like to handle that? It was advertised that all comments for online had to be made by 7 p.m. and then we extended public participation.
We should read them.
Okay. Okay, I have another email from John Owens. Mr. Karuba, after listening to the current opening plan, can you please clarify teachers will be disinfecting the classrooms during the changing periods, as I do not feel qualified to meet CDC requirements for safety and cleanliness in rooms.
I think we clarified that by just talking about using wipes to wipe down desks.
And then I have another one from Chris M. Coyle, high school teacher. I would like to compliment Mr. Gruber for taking a very strong and very clear stance on students wearing masks at all times. I believe this would also be public participation. They did not sign the email. It looks like it's from Mrs. Dow. What programs will be used for virtual learning? Pearson was a very difficult and frustrating program for my second grader. And thank you, Christy, for reminding us.
Okay.
So that's all I see.
We will evaluate the online programs. That is something we will be doing in the short order.
Did I forget anything else?
Can I thank the school nurse for answering all the questions?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank God you were here. Yeah.
I know it's not what you want to hear, but.
No, we want the truth.
Based on I'm going based on the CDC and the Department of Health is what they recommended to the entire, work.
No, thank you. And you tell the truth. That's all we want is the truth.
If you don't follow what the guidelines are, great. Nothing bad happens, great.
Right. Exactly.
Not gonna be good for anybody. Great. Thank you.
All right. If nobody has anything else, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn? Motion. Second. Adjourn.